Hello, everybody. Welcome to Kaleidoscope of the Arts, and we are live. We are not only live on the radio, but we're also streaming. So if you're listening to us on WKDW 97.5 FM, Mural Community Radio, coming out of Northport, Florida, you can also tune in on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter and catch us where you can look at us in person, because we're going to actually be looking at pictures today and actually artwork. And with me today is my co-host, Dee Dee Gozion. Hello, Dee Dee.
How you doing?
I'm doing actually much better, thank you, because I recovered from COVID. My husband and I went out one time only, and we picked up the Omicron. So it's out there, and people with your arguments out there, it's just like different variants. Like the flu shot, you got to get a different flu shot every year because they have a different variant coming up. We're going to have that with the coronavirus.
Yeah.
You know, at least, though, we were vaccinated. We had 3 vaccines, and it wasn't as bad as other people. I know some people got hospitalized even with the Omicron. So anyhow, enough about that, about the controversial things going on in the world, because we're here to be kind. And one of the things that we would like to do is also introduce you to our guest for today is Laura Pucci.
Hello.
And hi, Laura. And Laura, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Before we get started, though, Dee Dee.
Yes.
Who is our sponsor, and why would we like to thank that Wendy Namack?
Oh, if it wasn't for Wendy, we wouldn't have this show. We're so happy that Wendy Namack supports the Art Center and supports the radio station. Wendy Namack is from Namack Portfolio Investments Professionals, LLC. Her website, www.namack.com. Her phone number is 941-429-2911. And her email is wendy@namack.com. Wendy Namack's been a true supporter of a lot of the nonprofits here in the city of Northport, and she's a hero. Thank you.
Yeah, and she has supported not only the radio station, the Art Center, but so many things in the community, and she's been one of the instrumental people with some of the changes that have happened over the years in the area. So thank you, Wendy. And she's a Gulf Coast Leadership Institute graduate, as I am, and I want to do a shout out to Jennifer Ortiz, Bush singer from Loveland Center. She just graduated from the Gulf Coast Leadership Institute. And in case you guys don't know what that is, the Gulf Coast Community Foundation chooses 25 people a year from the area, from Sarasota, Manatee, I think DeSoto, Charlotte County, and out in Boca Grande once a year. And you have to apply for it, and they only choose 25, and it's fully paid for. But it's using the Myers-Briggs system where you learn about your leadership skills. Yes. And I wish I would have had that years ago, because I always took things personal, and I found out nobody really cares about you. They care. There are things, and it made me a better leader. Once I discovered that, I was able to put some of those aside and rethink when I was taking it personal, and I go, they don't even care about me. They're a different leadership style than me. So
personality differences. It's like being in the classroom, learning style differences. It makes such a difference when you keep that's part of your mindset. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Now, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to WKDW 97.5 FM Rural Community Radio out of Northport, Florida, and you're listening on the Bishop West Real Estate Tower. And thank you, Bishop West. They sponsor our tower. And if you're listening on the radio, thank God you are able to get it in. That's all I can say, because sometimes it's sketchy. But you can listen on kdwradio.com. And if you have a smart speaker, which many of us do, and I unplugged mine so it wouldn't come on, but you can, whatever you call it, if you have an Alexa, and I'm going to do this to you people out there. Alexa, play WKDW 97.5 FM, and it'll pop on, whatever you call it. So thank you, everybody. There's different ways that you can listen to this. Now, Dee Dee, before we get started with Laura, because Laura, this is your hour. We're going to be delving into your personal life, your professional life, and then your artistic life, even though your professional life is artistic too.
Yes.
Dee Dee, what's happening outside your door right now?
Well, we have art camp going on. We have teen camp and the youth camp. So there's a lot of children out there, about 40 of them right now. They're actually very well behaved. They're good kids. They've been having a really fun week. We have a special guest at the end of the week. Miss Alice White will be joining us, and I hear she has a really fun program for entertainment after their lunchtime. So it's a great program. It's a great way for children to spend their summer and get a secret education behind the fun.
Absolutely. And that's the way you do it. And Laura, we'll talk a little bit about you right now because you are a teacher.
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
I'm an art teacher at Port Charlotte Middle School. And I always say I'm living the dream of an artist because I'm a full-time artist. I teach full-time and then I do my own art. And so I get to do art all the time. I get to be creative. And at school, I get to teach the next generation to not only appreciate art, but to understand that there's much of art that is skill-based. And if you learn the skills, you can create, but it also helps with problem-solving skills. It obviously helps with expressing themselves and gives them a chance to release, because our kids, in middle school, they don't have recess. Their time is very much filled with academics. And there's a lot of people who they're not book learners. And so I have the privilege of being able to work and pull out of the kids that aren't book learners, who are more what we call kinesthetic learners or creative learners. I have the privilege of being able to work with them and help pull out things from them that they can't necessarily or don't necessarily feel inspired to do maybe in science class or math class. And it gives them that break. Okay, now I can express myself. Of course, we do it within boundaries, and they have lessons and they have criteria, but I get to channel that creativity, and I get to also, not only channel it, but bring it out in some people and help them discover, oh, hey, I'm actually pretty good at this. And that when that goes off, that light goes off, that's really so much fun. And we do different styles. So like this last year, I had this girl who she struggled with every single thing we did. And then we did collage, and her work was beyond. And I said, you found it. You found your medium. See? And I said, you understand values in art. And that collage is very, very much about values. And, she had a hard time drawing because she had difficulty with fine motor skills, but she just lit up and really found a lot of self-esteem in the fact that she found an area of art that she was really not just good at, but her work was excellent. And so that's so fun to be able to do with the kids. Yeah.
And when you're talking about that, I so enjoy that, because art is in all of us. And you just find the niche that really goes to your soul, because it can embrace and give you an outlet where it's a mental health thing too.
It is.
It very much is. Dee Dee.
Yes, ma'am.
You have an adult class coming up too this summer. Don't you have an adult camp coming up?
Yes, we do. And we're planning it out right now. In the month of August, every Sunday, we will be having a camp for adults only, and it will be based on the same type of schedule our children's camp is, but it's for a little breakaway. If it's moms and dads can come, we have a theme for every week. It will be Sunday about 2:00 in the afternoon till 5. And we have a little break, a project, a little meal break and then another project. So we're putting it all together now, and hopefully next time that we get together, I'll have prices and exact information for you. But we're having a lot of fun putting it together. Yes, we will.
I love that, because it takes some of the stigma and some of that. So many people are like, well, I can't take an art class, I'm not good. But if you
this is all about fun.
If you make it into like a camp or some of those, the paint alongs, people, that breaks down the barrier of, oh, I can't do it. Well, it doesn't matter if you can't do it. We're all like just playing around, and that's exactly and then you discover, oh wait, I can do it.
And actually, in this one, we're bringing all the arts involved. We're having music along with the projects, awesome. And we're having food for culinary art. We're having it themed around whatever so it's all about just indulging in the arts and having some fun, just like the children do, but giving the adults an opportunity to come and express themselves too, and have a little bit of fun and see how fun it can really be.
Yeah. And one of the things about taking art class in school, God forbid we ever lose that in the schools, it's always like, but music, art, all the kids, when they do that, if nothing else, they can leave with the appreciation that this is not easy. It takes time. You can do it, but it takes time and dedication. And so when you see a painting on the wall and you go, oh, I can do that. Well, maybe you can, but you realize how much work is put into it, yes. The time that is put into it, because everything of value takes time and dedication. And so that's one of the greatest things that comes out of taking art class, is the appreciation of it. And then hopefully maybe also doing it too. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And talking about look, I love your hair, Laura.
Thank you.
And her glasses.
Yeah, my glasses are my face jewelry. Yeah. I have real issues with my eyes. And so since I had long ago, I had issues with my eyes, and long ago I was wearing these glasses, and I said to my husband, I have to wear the same thing all the time, I can't change. And he's like, so get a second pair. I was like, why didn't I think of that? I have like 50 pairs of shoes and they're on my feet. And so this was like 20 years ago, and then I just started collecting glasses, and it's really actually kind of a sad addiction.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, you're right. We find that, and that's some of the understanding that the way we dress is part of our artistic expression, and finding that too. I love doing that with the kids. I have do so much stuff with clothing with the kids, and actually I can show you something. The kids at our school, they're not allowed to have the skin showing above the knee. And so there's so many jeans out there that are all ripped and everything. And so that part of dress code is that above the knee, your skin shouldn't show. So I did with the kids, hey, let's make it fun and make patchwork. And so these are not some of the ones that the kids did, but I can show you things that I've done that, I sell on Etsy, my Etsy shop. Oops, I got to get the angle. By putting patches.
Yeah.
And actually, quilting. I can even stand up and give it a little cuter. Oops, I have to get the direction here.
Yeah, mirror image. You got
it. There we go. So, like I said, this isn't one that the kids did necessarily, but I teach them, and we do hand sewing in my classroom, because I think that's such an important skill for them to have. I'll show you another one. It's 4th of July, so I'll show you my little...
for our listening audience, Laura is showing jeans that they've done stitching and adding color and different types of, like you have, what is that?
Patchwork.
Yeah, patchwork on there. And is that rickrack?
No, this is fabric. I cut the fabric to what I like, and then I sew it on. I use the machine. Sometimes I do hand sewing. So this is a pair that's kind of like naval inspired. And but I do this with the kids too, and I teach them mine are mostly with machine work. Okay, so like it's hard to
that. Yeah, I like that.
So that's all machine work right there. Okay, but then this one down here, this has on the outside, it has a blanket stitch. Okay, so it's some machine work and some hand work. And I teach the kids at school, we do hand embroidery and hand sewing, and then they bring in a pair of jeans if they want to, though some of the boys don't like it. But believe it or not, the boys love to sew. It is a hoot and a half, man. We do like a poppet, a little small, stuffed animal, and they learn basic stitches, and then whoever wants to can bring in their jeans, and I teach them how to do patchwork and just normal everyday stitches. I teach them how to put them on a button, teach them how to like do a hem stitch, although that one can get a little difficult for some of them because they forget the under and over to make that blind stitch, but they work on it. And but mostly we do hand embroidery. And so, and we do a project every year with that. And some years it's famously effective, and other years it's like, oh my gosh, what did I do? But it really is great because so many of them have never, ever, ever sewn anything or seen anybody sew anything.
Yep.
And when they find out that I do quilting, and they're like, how did you learn that? I said, well, my mother taught me, and her mother taught her, and people are not passing that down as much anymore,
True.
So my mother would have considered it a sin for me not to know how to put on a button, because that's a life skill. So anyway,
I think they took home ec out of.
They did take home ec out.
That's where we all learned when we were kids.
Yep, exactly. Right. The last school in Charlotte County to have home ec, when I think it was Murdoch Middle School. There might be one school left, but and this isn't Charlotte County's fault or Sarasota County's fault, because the school systems are just doing away with it. But when a home ec teacher retires or a shop teacher retires, they remove that program from the school. And it's really, I think it's just so sad, because
I think it's a travesty. I really do, because you learn those skills, even shop, any of those. And when I was a girl, you couldn't take shop. We had to take home ec. But later on, the girls could take shop or home ec or whatever until like you said, they did away with it. Laura, when you're saying that, I think I have a whole bag of embroidery thread around here. You would take that, right?
I would. I take so many donations, and we use them. We use them in embroidery, but then all my advanced kids do what we call a junk art project, and they just go into these boxes and boxes I have, and what they do with it is hysterical and beautiful, and they have the best time of putting things together. And that's one of the ways we learn construction and 3D work. And so, but I take all of it. Yep. And I use it. I really do.
For our audience, Laura Pucci, how do we get a hold of you so people know where to bring that? They could bring it to the Northport Arts Center too.
They could bring it to the Northport Arts Center. They could also email me at create@laurapucci.com. create@laurapucciartist.com. And they can go to my website, laurapucciartist.com, and my information to call me and all those things, they're on there. But bringing it to the Northport Art Center and saying this is for Laura Pucci's classroom, or I can talk with Claire and JJ and see if it could be used in the classrooms for the students here, and we can divvy it up. But, because we don't want to just, supply me, but because we can use it at Northport. But, it's all about what you need for what projects. And, like they might not do sewing here at the art center, and I do sewing every year in my classroom. When I started it just was like gangbusters.
I don't know of any other art teacher that does that. Do you? In the area?
I don't. But here's the thing. One of the things that happens with our teachers, we follow our curriculum. Okay, so I'm not really a sculptor. Okay, I know how to do it and things like that. Obviously, I don't know how to do marble or something. But so I do 3D construction every year. We usually do paper mache, but 3D is not my jam, right? So when I get through my curriculum and things like that, then what ends up happening, and I think this really does happen with pretty much all art teachers, is where I shine, I end up really infusing that into the projects that we do on the side. So I'm very much a mixed media and collage artist. Collage with fabric, collage with paper. And one of the things I stress to my students is value. We're constantly talking about value in art. And for our listening audience, that means value in art does not mean how much a painting costs. Value is lightness and darkness in a work of art. And I find, because it works for me, that if I understand the values of what I'm trying to show on my canvas or whatever, that the richness of my work of art is going to be lifted tremendously. And so collage artists, value is extremely important because it's important when you paint too, but that's your biggest thing that you work with in collage, because you're taking fabrics or papers or items and you're saying, well, where's the lightness and the darkness? Where do I have to put that? And so yes, in collage, you do work with line, but line ends up being very intimidating to students because they feel like they have to draw it, or with a paintbrush, they have to follow that. So I say to them, let's not worry too much about the line. The lines will come up after you get the values in. And then so obviously we, have to do some things at the end and whatever, but I encourage them very much to work with values. And so collage just sings when you look at your values. And so back to what I was saying before is that I do find, even with my colleagues, is the thing that they shine at ends up being what they end up infusing their program with. Yes. And so, but I do follow my curriculum. We do all the things we're supposed to do, but it's human nature, right? So when I taught fifth grade and I would teach social studies, I would go crazy when we went to the Declaration of Independence or the Bill of Rights, because I find that to be one of the most beautiful documents ever written. And so the kids get crazy about that, because I'm crazy about it. And so anyway, and you can hear my lovely phone ringing in the background.
Yeah, I think it's sad. With the audience.
Hi, Daddy.
Yeah, hi, Daddy. So I might have to silence that in a moment. So.
Yeah, and don't bang on the desk.
Very pretty. I love it.
Don't bang on the desk. Sometimes you have a habit of going like that and it comes through. Yeah.
No, I thought I silenced it. Obviously, I did not.
Yeah.
Well, that's my spiel about art and infusing who I am, because we all infuse who we are.
Some of your art here.
Well, okay, so this is my art, and this is more of what I would call collage.
Oh yeah.
Actually, everything I do is collage, but this I do pay attention, obviously, to value. We have the lights and we have the darks. And
Can I get this a little closer?
She was okay, Dee Dee.
Is it okay?
Yeah,
Can you see it okay?
It's okay. It was okay.
So like up here, when I did the rose.
Here, now you can see it's fabric, yeah.
I'm trying to straighten it. When I did the rose, okay, so this is what I would be talking to the kids about a lot. Okay, I would say, how am I going to make just pieces of fabric look like a flower or a rose? Well, you have to have lights and darks and understand where the shadows are. Okay, and then how am I going to make the composition pleasing to the eye? Well, it needs to have balance. Okay, so I have a light against a dark, and even with the linen that's back here, the white, I have to be careful. This is probably the lightest thing I have against the linen, but it still works because of everything that's around it too. If I did all my flowers in this beige, I'm going backwards, then it wouldn't work out so well, right? So, and this has machine embroidery as well as hand embroidery. This whole piece over here is hand embroidered and beaded. And then I have vintage buttons. So Marie, you're going to give me stuff. This is called Carol's Garden because a friend of mine, her dear friend, ended up moving away and had drawers and drawers of fabric and buttons and beads. And she said, do you want this? I said, heck yeah. And so almost all of this, there's a few pieces like this piece right here, this fabric, that's a new fabric. And I think this one's a new fabric. Almost everything else is vintage fabric, stuff from her home, her estate. She didn't pass away, but she was giving everything away. So, and as I was doing things, I had some rickrack, and as I was doing things, some of it was falling apart, and I was like, oops. So I had to go inside the roll, to get stuff that wasn't so dry. And so, all the buttons are from her collection.
Those are amazing buttons.
And so I called it Carol's Garden because it was from a woman,
Nice.
Carol. It was from her house. So, so like I said, this is mostly machine free, what's called free motion quilting. So I work on my machine and I move the fabric around, I move the piece around, but then there's lots of little touches of hand embroidering and hand beading, and all the buttons are applied by hand and things like that. So this is a very significant example of my art that I do on a regular basis, like personal art.
Well, let's talk about where you started, Laura, because where were you born? Where were you raised?
I was born, I'm getting my phone because I don't want that to happen anyway.
Well,
I was born in Long Island, New York. And, but we moved down here when I was like in kindergarten. But I have really good memories of New York because we went back very often. And Long Island is very much, people don't realize, it's very much a beach culture. And so we would go back in the summers and go to Malibu Beach, New York. Okay. And I have a very large Italian family. And but my mother and father, we moved down here when I was about in kindergarten. I think it was kindergarten or first grade. And I grew up in Pembroke Pines area, which is very close to Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale. And so I grew up down there, and my mother is an artist. My grandfather is an artist. My uncle's an artist. My father is a musician. So I literally could not escape art. It's in my DNA. I have sung my whole life. I've been very much involved in music. And even in high school, I was actually more involved in music than in the visual arts. But then as I got older and, there's not always a place other than the shower and church. I sang in church. And I have to tell you, one of my greatest sadnesses in life is that the church choir is going away because I love choral music. And I've been involved in the Northport Chorale as well. But anyway, there's not always an easy place to express yourself vocally or in the musical theater, which I love all that stuff. And I do have extreme vision issues, and being on stage sometimes is extremely difficult for me with the lights. And basically, when I'm on stage, I have to know exactly where I am and how many steps I can go. So that little handicap kind of geared me toward expressing myself more with the visual arts because I don't have to worry about it so much. And so, yeah. And like I said, my mother always sewed, and I used to do stained glass. I just am one of those people who you give me an opportunity and I just eat it up. You know what I mean? And so in graduate school, I did a lot of stained glass work. And that was really when I started kind of understanding the concept of collage, because stained glass really is a type of collage, and understanding the values and where to put the different glasses and things like that, because you're working with pieces of glass, and line. I mean, obviously line is very strong in stained glass as well. And so I did that for many years, but then when I had children, it's not exactly a great thing to have around. Pieces of cut glass and lead and all that stuff. So I kind of put that to the side. And I've always painted because that's a very strong base for everything. And so I was painting, and I was doing nursery murals and doing a lot of name art for people, doing a lot of stuff for kids, right? I would get orders and word of mouth and things like that. And so I was really involved in that for a long time. And then I kind of discovered collage. I took a class and I did a portrait. I don't have it here. A portrait of my boys in collage, just with magazines. And it's still to this day one of the most dear and favorite pieces that I have or I've ever done. And that was it. I was off and running again because I was like, oh, has a lot of the same concepts that I learned in stained glass without having to worry about glass being around in the house. So then I was crazy about all my personal art being collage, and I did a lot of paper. And the other thing about collage that's fantastic is that you can use free materials, magazines laying around, old newspapers, cards that you receive from somebody. And so, it's extremely economical to do collage. All you need is glue. And people will say, oh, you need this special glue. You don't really need special glue. I'm one of those people who's like, oh, we can figure it out. And some of that comes with teaching because you have no budget. And so you figure things out. Oh, just water down that Elmer's glue. We can make it work. Boom, boom, boom. And so I really, really, really blew up with collage. And Elizabeth St. Hilaire Nelson, she became very popular at this same time. And she's an amazing collage artist. And I never met her, but I watched her stuff and did some, workshops online, some of her little classes online. And that, kind of elevated my collage. And then, I'm short. I'm 5 feet tall. I have to shorten every single pair of pants I own, and I've always sewn and I've always done needlework. And so that, things just kind of mature into themselves. And then here in Charlotte, I went to Charlotte Sewing Studio for a collage class, quilting class. And that was all she wrote, man. Oh my gosh. Jill was my teacher. She's amazing. And I went crazy. And now that's, I'm basically just a maniac for quilting and collaging. And I made t-shirt quilts for my boys when they went to college, and I did it with them, and it was just so precious. And then my mom and my godmother, they helped me too. And that's what people don't understand a lot of times about quilting. I'm getting emotional. I'm an emotional person. Can you tell? About quilting is that it's can be very much a communal activity, and how precious it is that I can say, and my boys can say, hey, my mom, my grandmother, and my great aunt all worked on this together, and I worked on it too. My boys didn't sew, but they helped us say placing where it is. And actually, Frankie, a quilt can be very heavy. Frankie was holding it as it's going through my machine because it was an extra long twin, and I had never done one that large before in my little machine. So it was a hoot and a half. But so what a precious time. And my boys, while they were doing it, they don't think about it. Oh, I'm helping my mom. But
memories.
The memories are just so precious. And I'm just so thankful that my mom and my aunt were involved. And my aunt's an amazing quilter. And she was like, she was doing things by hand. I'm like, Aunt Franny, I'm not going to do this whole thing by hand. Oh, but if you do this and if you do that. And of course, I use those things in some of my art quilts, the hand detailing that my aunt taught me. My mother is a painter, and she's great with value and line and all that stuff. So I use all those things that I've learned from generations, and it's just, I think that that's so precious,
Absolutely.
So
It's actually priceless.
it's priceless and precious. You're 100% correct.
Right. I want to talk before we run out of time here, because we're already over half hour. Yeah. I want to talk about some of the things that you have done with the Northwood Art Center. And we're going to start with, you were a winner chicken dinner.
Isn't that gorgeous? Yes.
That's one of my art quilts. And so all of that denim is me shortening my pants. And so I had all of these pieces, because I tend not to throw things away, and which is much to the chagrin of my husband. So I had all these pieces of denim, and one day I just started sewing them together, and I said, oh, I'm going to make a piece of fabric out of this. Well, when I got about, I don't know, halfway through with it, I was like, this kind of looks like water. And so then I was like, oh, I'll do something underwater scene. And some of the fabric that I had was left over. Some of the things that looked like scales was left over from another project I did, but I didn't have enough. And I was like, well, what else looks like this? Oh, a turtle. And a lot of the quilts that I do are Florida centric. I've done a spoonbill. This is a loggerhead. I've done an alligator. That one that I just showed you isn't necessarily Florida, but it's from somebody here. I've done, what else have I done? I've done a lot of things.
We'll show a couple of the things that you have done.
A heron. So this one, third place at Northport Art Center, which was a thrill.
Yeah, and looking at it.
You did the whole fabric around it like the mat. That's awesome.
Thank
you very much.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And just for our audience, our listening audience, you can go to our Facebook page, which is WKDW 97.5 on Facebook. You can go to the Northport Art Center Facebook page. If you're a friend of Marie LaBrosse, that's me. You can go to my personal one. You can go to our YouTube page at WKDW 97.5. And you can also go to our Twitter account on WKDW 97.5. And you can actually watch this. You can virtually look at this stuff, visualize it. For those that are listening on the radio, I know that you're just hearing what we're talking about. But sometimes when you're looking at like the sea tortoise, the turtle here, it actually has the colors of blue and green and yellow. And you would be able to see that, visually, because a lot of times when we're listening to it, we don't hear that. Now, we're going to talk about the mural, and I'm going to actually go to I'm flipping through pictures here. Okay. Let's start with a group of people that helped you with doing the mural, and tell me about the story of how the mural came about that you painted onto the Northport Art Center.
Okay, so Dee Dee and I met when we were both on the Northport Art Advisory Board. And I just have a huge passion for public art. And I just was like, my theory is let's paint everything, make everything gorgeous. And one day I was talking to Dee Dee just at Northport Art Center. And I said, listen, I teach full time, but I want to be a part of Northport Art Center. Can you give me a project to do that I don't necessarily have to be there? Because during the week I can't come. I work full time. And she's like, well, she kind of listed off a few. And one of them was mural. I was like, me, I will do that. I will do that. And I will try to get volunteers to work with me as well. And so I planned it. We sent it to the Northport Commission, and they approved it because I guess we were on public land. And so they needed to approve it anyway. So, and this is the beginning. In the beginning, it's on a white surface. It's black and white stripe with flowers. And this is the beginning. And I had a lot of volunteers help me with the basics. So I had, some of these are my students. The girls are my students from Port Charlotte Middle. I have two gentlemen one is from Northport High and one of them is from Pineview. And then our wonderful Bill Moore, who he helped us with all the high stuff. And he's such a hoot and a half. He's like on the ladder because I'm 5 feet tall. If I needed to get to the high stuff, we were going to have to rent some scaffolding. So I rented scaffolding by having Philip in there. So this is like literally the beginning stage, putting down the white base. And but then there's 4 flowers. We have a hibiscus. We have a hibiscus, and you just saw this is like blocking out the hibiscus, and I had kids help me block out these colors as well, because on these large swaths of color, you can have lots of volunteers working together, and it's great to organize that. It's so wonderful to work together because there's so much ownership of it. But then if you go to the next one, then when we get to details, it is extremely important to have one artist do it because you have to have a cohesive look to the style. So if other people did these lines and things like that, you would be able to tell, which can be great if you design a mural like that you want to see different styles. But to unify the look, I did all the detail work. And you see also that there's black stripes going throughout the background, and that gives us beautiful contrast with the significant values of black and white being so strong against each other. So this is a hibiscus, or what is actually native in Florida is the Florida swamp mallow. It's in the hibiscus family. So I took a little bit of liberty with this flower because hibiscus are everywhere. So hibiscus are not native. The Florida swamp mallow is native, but they are non-invasive and they're everywhere in Florida. And it's one of my favorite flowers. But then we go to, I don't think I have the pictures of it. We have Florida blue-eyed stargrass.
They're there. There's your original. See it hanging there? Can you want to get that? See where that Berkeley thing is? Just 1 minute, and I have the examples of what she gave us whenever we showed it to, when she showed it to me, what her original idea was. Yeah, just unclip it and bring it over. And what her original ideas were, and she has all the different plants. Now, when Laura was on the art advisory board, one of her missions was to make art in the city of Northport cohesive if it's public art, and she wished, and it was voted that it would be on the lines of native Florida plants and animals. So she had developed this idea of doing native Florida flowers on the outside of our building.
So this ended up, this is an example of how you can have an idea that works, but then when in real life, sometimes not everything happens. So this is a passion flower, and that ended up not being on the building because it just absolutely didn't fit, because things were just too large and it was going to overcrowd it. So, but however, the passion flower is native to Florida. Then here we have blue-eyed stargrass, which is native to Florida. Here we have our state wildflower, which is coreopsis, otherwise known as tick seed. Here we have sunshine mimosa, which is fun because it's like a little pink ball with all these little cute little things that stick out from it. And like I said, this is the one I took a little bit of liberty with because the Florida swamp mallow is in the hibiscus family, and we have so many hibiscus here in Florida. And so anyway, this is the presentation that went to the commission and was approved. And like I said, we ended up doing pretty much exactly what it is, but not the passion flower. Oops, I got to go backwards. Yeah. So, and it is around 2 parts of the building, the back and the side, and those are the parts that you can see from, what is that? That's Northport Boulevard. From Northport Boulevard. It's really bright and beautiful. And on the front of the building, we have the word Art Center, and I'm going to add another hibiscus just because to give that balance. And then we're going to be working with the teen camp. There's a planter out front, and we're going to be working with them for them to help me paint that and put some stripes on that to bring that cohesive design to the front. And then the little kids, we're going to have them do some splatter work, just fun on the steps to add just that little bit of color with all the colors that have been around the building. And so my passion really outside my own art and teaching, so that's my personal passion, but my volunteer passion is public art. Art should be for everyone, and it should be everywhere. I mean, I've been very fortunate to live in communities where art was just pervasive. You know, South Florida, it's everywhere. Murals, statues, all kinds of things everywhere. It's so colorful. Even when I lived in Titusville, in the Cocoa Beach area and everything, unbelievable, beautiful artwork all over the place. Then we lived in the Dunedin area, and the Dunedin area is where I really became passionate about public sculpture. I was very fortunate to be part of the Dunedin Art Center, and I was one of the artists chosen to do one of the Clearwater dolphins. And there are dolphin sculptures all over the Clearwater, the Pinellas area. And they're still there. My dolphin is still public. And there was like 80 originally. I can't remember exactly. Maybe there was 50 originally. But people just keep buying them and asking them to be in front of their business or in front of their school. And it's such a beautiful way to bring the community together, to say, oh, we have a dolphin, or to ask for a dolphin, or to say, hey, I want this elementary school, I want their class to paint a dolphin. I will sponsor that. And so, and having that unity, just like Punta Gorda has their murals and they're all historical.
Yes.
There's a unity to that. And that was one of my big things that I wanted to do when I was on the Northport Art Advisory Board. And I so hope and pray that it continues, because we brought forth the theme of native flora and fauna from Florida. No style, just to do native animals and flowers. Any style you want. Could be abstract, could be pop, could be traditional, could be realism, any style. So the style was really left to be interpreted, but to unify us as a city and have flora and fauna. So there's a big, huge mural on one of the buildings that Laura Pucci did. That one is not native flora and fauna because it was specific to the purpose. So there is a clause that if it's specific to a purpose, that you apply to have it different. So it's not like it's rigid, but it gives us something to focus on and something to unify and get the city a look. And what better look for us? We live in this great eco center of the amazing nature, and so much of Northport is undeveloped, and we have such beauty. I mean, we're my husband and I, we saw Rosie at Spoonbill flying the other day. I was brought to tears, the beauty of it. So just giving homage to what is all around us. So I hope that continues, because it's just paint.
It really is. We only have like 3 minutes left. So what I want to do is talk a little bit too about what you have at the mall. Keep Charlotte Beautiful. You did this for Charlotte. I take it, right?
Yes. I work at Port Charlotte Middle School, and Rhonda Harvey and we created a club at our school, Keep Charlotte Beautiful, and we do gardening there and beautifying our own school, keeping our own Charlotte beautiful. But then the mall had this huge wall, and they had asked Rhonda Harvey to create something. This is also something else that the mall has commissioned me to do, a handful of different things. This is my artwork. This is my painting style tends to be very pop art. And and then they had me do this umbrella, and I did this with kids. They had an activity, and the kids came and painted umbrellas, and it was so cute. And this was my example. But back to the mural, Keep Charlotte Beautiful, I had my advanced art kids in 8th grade. They decided what to do. And we talked about, how do we keep Charlotte beautiful? And that was the theme. And so one of the kids said, let's do a puzzle. And then another kid said, well, are we going to make all the pieces? And then someone else said, well, why don't we do a map of Charlotte County? And then boom, that was it. And so we divvied it up and we decided on things. And you see Fish Responsibly, Celebrate Earth Day. I think that one is Respect Wildlife, Adopt a Road, Enjoy Nature, Recycle, Plant Native, and Save the Turtles, and Adopt a Shore. And so I had the kids work together. They not each of them, they had groups on the design for each of the squares, I'll call them. And we spent months in the mall painting. And I will tell you that those kids, number one, they understand that there's a lot of math in art, because we had to expand this from their drawing and do scale. And then just understanding that all the steps that it takes to create something like this. And we had the best time. It was such a precious time with the kids, and they love it. And then the Keep Charlotte Beautiful at top, I cut that out with a hot knife of styrofoam and pasted it on there.
Well, Laura,
it was a great opportunity for the kids and for me.
Absolutely. We could have had you on for a couple of hours right now, because we never even got into any of the other things in your life, like your 2 boys graduating from college and that whole trip and all the different things. And I know that in the works, and you have a handprint in that, that there may be something coming into the city of Northport with the Northport Art Center, and you were involved in it. And if people can look a little bit north up to Venice, they have the mermaids and the what were they?
Seahorses.
And seahorses that were painted in that. Well, City of Northport, along with the Art Center, that they're looking at a project that there's other type of an animal that will be hopefully, and this is a teaser. Reach out to Dee Dee and Laura, because if you want to be involved, if you're a business out there and want to sponsor something like that, get a hold of these guys, because you know what? You can have your fingerprint right in the city of Northport, and you can have a piece of artwork, and you can even be involved in having putting that paintbrush on that. Laura, one last question, because I know that we gotta go. One last question. What kind of paint do you use when you're doing your murals, and do you put a mural coating over?
Sherwin-Williams house paint. Sherwin-Williams, I'm sorry for everybody else, but Sherwin-Williams is the best. And the Sherwin-Williams Northport donated all that paint. Yeah. It's just amazing. Sherwin-Williams paint.
Toledo
Blade and Price.
They donated.
They donated everything. Yeah, and it's the best. It's absolutely the best paint ever. Sherwin-Williams. And from the Sherwin-Williams store, not from the hardware store.
Yes. Yeah, no, it makes a difference. Well, I would like to thank our audience for tuning in today and listening on Kaleidoscope of the Arts on WKDW 97.5 FM Rural Community Radio out of Northport, Florida. You're listening to us on the Bishop West Real Estate Tower. And Dee Dee, we have choices in life to make. What are they, Dee Dee?
Marie, we can be kind or not, but we always should choose kindness.
Yes. Yeah, the world will be a better place no matter what your differences are if you're just kind and learn consensus. There was a word, that's a word of the day, consensus. Get along where you can come to a mutual agreement. You may not win both battles, but you can live with it. So everybody, have a great day. Thank you for the privilege of your time listening to us. I'm Marie LaBrosse.
Dee Dee Gozion.
Laura Pucci.
Have a great day, and see you again next week on Kaleidoscope of the Arts. Okay. Oh, we're still on. So we're off the radio, but we're still on Facebook, and it really doesn't matter.
Well, maybe Laura can tell her story.
I do my hair. If we're still on Facebook, my story of the boys. It's a hoot and a half. Okay, so I have twin boys, and they graduated from college this year. The whole 4 years, my nightmare was that they were going to graduate the same weekend. That happened. Thank God it wasn't the same day. It was the 1 and 2, Sunday and Monday, if you can believe it. So we fly up to North Carolina to do Frankie's thing, and we get to be with him before, and he does his friend thing, and we go out, and it's beautiful and all that kind of stuff. And we go to graduation, Duke University. It was not supposed to be, but it was 40 degrees in the football stadium. I went, if you can believe this, my hair is like, I'm trying to go backwards here. Anyway, it was 40 degrees out. Dee Dee, help me, because it's backwards when you're looking at the thing. Okay, so it's 40 degrees, and I'm wearing sandals. I have jeans on and a long sleeve shirt, but I said to my husband, I've got to get a scarf. If my neck is warm, then I'll be warm. I go to the Duke, like the football stadium, the store. I go in there, and they have like 3 scarves left because everyone's buying them. I bought a scarf for $45. I couldn't believe it, but I did not care. So, okay, we're at the football stadium. They do the general graduation, but there's so many kids there that then you go to their department. His is after. It couldn't be the day before, like 90% of them. His was after. So we go to his sociology department graduation. We watch him go across the stage. His name is called. We leave that ceremony. We kiss him goodbye, and we're like, we gotta go. So he comes with us to the parking garage, and I'm hugging him, and I'm like, I'm so proud of you. I love you. I wish you could stay. And I'm crying, and my husband's like, get in the car. So we're running to the airport. We get on our flight. The North Carolina then goes to Philadelphia. Oh, madonna mia. So we're in Philadelphia. And if you've ever been to Philadelphia Airport, they haven't really updated it, even though they have all of the stuff for safety, you know, and TSA. So it's insane, Philadelphia Airport. We're running through Philadelphia Airport. My husband's like, I want a cheesesteak. I was like, I don't care. So we get to our gate, and then we're standing there, and they're like, who wants to volunteer not to get on the flight? And because if you don't volunteer, then they start kicking people off. Oh my gosh, my husband goes up to them like, our child is graduating. We have to be on this flight. Anyway, God bless us. We got on the flight. We get home at like 1 o'clock because Ricky is at Palm Beach Atlantic University. We get home at like 1 o'clock. We're just insane. Okay. We finally get to the hotel. We're sleeping. I woke up the next morning at 9:30, my mother called me and she said, how you doing? I said, oh my gosh, sleep is such a wonderful thing. And she said, well, get up and take a shower because the next one is happening. So we get up and we have to be at Ricky's at 12:30 for his 1:30 graduation. You don't get a seat if you're not there on time. God bless him. We see him in a parking lot. We're like, hey kid, we're here. So he's like, all right, I have to go in now. So we get into our seats and finally we're like, oh my gosh, we did it. We were at both graduations within not even 48 hours, 36 hours apart. It was wonderful, insane, crazy, blessed. It was so beautiful. And then Ricky's dream, listen to this and what my son wanted. His only thing that he wanted for graduation was to go to Ruth Chris Steakhouse for dinner. All right. That's your because he went to school, Palm Beach Atlantic. If you've ever been there, it is literally on the Intercoastal. It is the most gorgeous setting for a college. I mean, Duke is beautiful, but this is on the Florida Intercoastal in Palm Beach. It's insane. So every day they walk by these Maserati dealerships, Ruth Chris Steakhouse, you know, all these beautiful boutiques. It's right there. They're walking on campus, and 1 block off campus is the most wealthy ever. Anyway, so he's like, that's what I want for my graduation. Okay. So his girlfriend, who's a doll, her name is Shanna, Ricky, me, my parents, and of course my husband Mike. We go to Ruth Chris Steakhouse. And when I tell you, I had a sip of wine, and all of a sudden it came over me, and I just started to cry. I'm like, oh, my baby's graduating from college. But we had the most lovely weekend. It was crazy insane, and I wouldn't trade a second of it. It's just beautiful. And so now they're at home. Frankie is interviewing. Hey, out there, if you work for a professional sports team, Frankie wants to get involved in a professional sports team in community engagement. And Ricky will be going to graduate school at Belmont University in Nashville because he's going to become a mental health counselor. So they're just, I couldn't be more filled with pride if I tried. Yeah,
and
God really blessed us.
How was it raising two twins? I mean, a twin. How was it raising two twins?
It was amazing. Amazing. I went through a significant amount of fertility treatments to have them. And when they finally happened for me, and I had twins, and then I was this crazy high-risk pregnancy, and I gave birth to 2 beautiful boys. And we decided not to know what we were having because we wanted the surprise. But I said the whole time, I said, I'm having 2 boys. I decorated my room. I did the mural, all Noah's Ark. And my mom's like, what if you have a girl? I said, I'll throw up a couple of bows, you know. But I said in my heart, for some reason, I know I'm having 2 boys, and I had 2 boys. And, you know, I had twins. I never had another. So you just do it, you know. I mean, I have such strong family around me, and I was blessed. I nursed them both till 14 months. Wow, it was the most precious time in my life. And I would have done it again. I wanted to have more kids. But when I tell you, I always say my children are perfectly imperfect. They are just, I get goosebumps when I think about them. They're just such beautiful young men. And maybe my husband and I had something to do with that. I don't know, but they have integrity. They love God. They love their family. And they have great, beautiful friends. And it's just, you know, and they want to impact the world. and be world changers. And I mean, you can't ask for much more than that. Yeah. So raising twins was so fun. So fun. Yeah.
And having you for a mother, I bet the boys really had a good time. And the strong Irish personality and the Italian and you're Irish Italian?
No. I'm Italian. My husband's Italian. My husband's first generation Italian. I'm sure you can imagine. Yeah. Some people think we're fighting when we're just talking. It's like they're like, you don't have to get upset with each other. We're like, we're not upset. We're just having a conversation. So our house is very colorful.
Very, very much so. For anybody that actually tuned in with us today and stuff, we're off air, but we figured we need to talk a little bit more here because of the colorfulness of Laura and Dee Dee, and I think we needed to have this one-on-one. It's been a long time since we've all been together.
Yeah.
Three of us, and very interesting, Laura, though, because I saw you in a different context. I didn't know you. I like this context better.
I like other context, you didn't enjoy me so much, but that's okay. But I'm doing business, man. I'm doing business.
Well, I'm not in that context anymore either because I'm not doing business there anymore.
Yeah. Dee Dee can tell you, I call her out of the blue and say, calm me down. And I do.
That's your passion.
I do. I say, because I know that I can be a steamroller, and I will call Dee Dee literally out of blue and say, this is what happened. What should I do? How should I calm down? And she'll say, she's got that calm, lovely voice. Well, how about this? And did you think about that? And maybe you should. And I'm always like, thank God. Thank you that you're there. Because she never is offended by the way I am, which is a blessing. And she knows where my heart is, and she knows that I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but she also knows that I want the right thing to be done. I want quality, and I get so upset when things are not done quality. Do something small if you can't do it big, but whatever you do,
integrity is
quality and integrity and kindness. But I think if you have integrity, you're kind. But I also think that if you're running business, there's a different type of kindness. When you're having a business meeting, you should be able to be businesslike, right? And say ABC and understand that that's being kind because you're talking about business and you need to be clear and concise and decisive. So I'm a little different when I'm businessy. So, but that's okay.
No, that's okay because that's your leadership style. Mm-hmm. Yeah, with the Myers-Briggs, I learned that I don't get as offended by people when they do go off on different things and that, because I understand it is their leadership style, and people have to get to the answer a different way than I get to that answer. And that's why, like when we did Kaleidoscope of the Art, and I always told everybody, you're doing this and this, stay in your own lane. Because everybody's micromanagers. They want to tell everybody else what they're doing wrong, but stay in your own lane and get your job done. And then everything will come together. And Dee Dee found out that when I do that, and when it comes together, everybody's going, well, why is it? We had, of course, hiccups, but it was the first time doing it, and it's the first time working with the different personalities. So you don't know how they all operate. And then at the end of the thing, you can look back, oh, okay, now I know exactly how to deal with them a little bit differently. So, and who was strong in that I didn't know was as strong in some areas. And one of them was Karen Caputo. I didn't know where her strength was. Dee Dee can tell me, but until I work with that person, I don't know where their strength is, and I have to learn. And I've always been a manager in life for all the businesses I've worked or owned. I've always been in charge. And so, but I've learned the best way to work with people is empower them and don't micromanage them and give them the tools that they need. If they get to the end of where you're trying to get, you don't have to micromanage them. They have a different way to get there as long as the result is the same. The end result that you make money. I mean, when you're doing
successful, we use the word successful.
That's why I asked Dee Dee, I say, give me a project so I can be in my own lane and do that. Because when you work full time and you can't be around for all that other stuff and you still want to be involved, it's difficult because then you show up and you're like, oh, I want to do something, but you weren't there for all the conversation because you're at work. So that's why Dee Dee and I kind of work together on, she says, here's a project. What do you think?
I can tell you what, we couldn't have had a better person because it was a huge mural. It was huge.
It is a very large mural.
Yeah. I wouldn't have been able to do that myself because of limitations, but I don't have the background knowledge. And when I was younger, I probably would have attempted to do it because I tell Dee Dee I'm not, I'm not an artist and that. But I used to do crafts. I used to actually paint on cement and do different things. And I even have pictures to prove it. And my husband, in fact, I was painting this morning. I'm trying to finish painting because I was ill. And when I was trying to do things and then I got COVID, I was recovering from radiation and I had some side effects from that. I lost my energy. I didn't have, and I wasn't doing well, and I was having, we're still on air. I had blood pressure all over the place, and I had to go to a cardiologist because it's a side effect of radiation, which I didn't know, but I had some other things that creeped up. And you know what she put me on, Dee Dee? She put me on a diuretic pill because I'm on blood pressure medication. She said, anybody suggest a diuretic ever to you? And I said, no. She put me on it. It dropped my blood pressure like that. It evened out.
Oh, that's beautiful. Trick.
It was all over the place in my heart rate and that. Anyhow, this morning I was painting outside, and I have to limit myself doing different things like that. But getting back to you guys, enough about me, getting back to you in the art work, because the city of Northport is an empty canvas. It can be whatever it needs to be. And I see that there's sculpture starting to pop up different places. And what you guys are looking at, another teaser out here, reach out to Dee Dee and Laura and just kind of see what the city of Northport is looking into doing, because it costs a little bit of money to do that. Laura, how much to do those, to do your project that you guys are thinking
Which,
of?
the turtles or the mural? The mural I donated to Northport Art Center.
Yeah.
However,
if it was
a paid job, it would be like a $15,000 to $20,000 mural. It was my pleasure to do it. But the turtle project, it's difficult to give a number because it depends on how many turtles you buy. And the company that I've had experience with before, they have a turtle already, but originally, and hopefully still, we were going to do a gopher tortoise. So they would have to manipulate and change that. So you do have to pay for the original design. Right. So like if we were going to do dolphins, they have one already. But it's not overly expensive to do that if you're buying, say, 50 of them. Or 25. I think when you do an original design, I'm pretty sure the minimum is 25. I don't have my notes in front of me.
But you're right.
Is 25. Okay. So when you make an original design, it's 25. And this was before COVID, but I think it said 35,000.
Yep.
I think the original cost for the 25 sculptures, the delivery of them, and they also do a workshop when they deliver them for the artists. And when they deliver them, they place them where you want them as far as storage, was $35,000. And then what we want to do is get sponsors to alleviate that. And you can do this as a fundraiser, or you can just do it as a public art project. And, when I was on the art advisory board, there is money set aside from people who develop in our city. They either choose to create their own art, like at Cocoa Plum.
Yeah.
They did their own art, which is so fun. Or you put money toward art for the city. And I can't tell you how many times when I was on Northport Art Advisory Board, I was like, let's just paint everything. And people get so like, oh, well, what if? I'm like, it is just paint. And the thing about that is people who are not artists, yes, it takes time. I don't want the mural at the Northport Art Center to go away in 12 months. But I also know that that's possible. Always knew that it was going to be a short-term mural because they're going to be developing this area, and hopefully Northport Art Center is going to get into a bigger building. So would I like it to stay up for a couple years versus just 6 months? Of course, but you paint it knowing that it could go away. And one of the commissioners, I can't remember who, they said, well, how about if we do the flowers on wood or something so that we could take them on and off? And I'm like, no, I'll just paint them again. Because when you're an artist and you have that skill, it's just time and paint. Is my time precious? Of course it is. But that was the other thing. When people would paint murals in their house, in their nursery, they were like, oh, I don't want to. I'm like, paint over it. I'll paint you another one. And my first house, my husband and I had a townhouse where we brought the boys home after they were born, and I had a Noah's Ark mural. It was so cute. And we sold that townhouse, to move into a freestanding house. And of course I was sad. That was where I brought my babies home, but it was a tiny little townhouse, and that we loved it, but we were fortunate that we could move on. And the people who bought the house bought it because of the mural. And I ended up saying to her, I said, if you bought another house, I can paint you another mural. So she loved the Noah's Ark so much, and she had a little boy, and of course I have no idea what's happened to it now. It's probably forever. But the next house I was in, I painted a jungle theme. It's just paint. It's just paint. I just want to say that to everybody. It's just paint. But I would love to paint the whole town. I see, like you said, Northport is like a blank canvas, and I am dying to get my hands on it. But I can't do everything for free.
No.
See the painter.
Yeah. See, Jeannie and I are dangerous together. Yeah.
How do you do it when it's so hot out, though, at times?
Oh,
I don't care. I grew up in Florida.
It doesn't bother you. Yeah.
No.
I'm used to the heat pretty much now, too, so it doesn't bother me like it used to in that. So even today, painting outside, my husband goes, aren't you getting hot? And he's outside all the time. And I said, actually, no, but what it is I get fatigued when I'm higher up right now, but I'm working on that. So for anybody, we're going to go off air, and I still want you guys to stay on because I want to talk to you. So, okay.
I'm like you, Marie. I can talk forever.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. On Facebook and YouTube and Twitter right now. We're going to head on. And if you ever want to be on any of our shows or that, even any of the shows on the radio station, reach out to me. I have my addresses scrolling across the bottom, Marie at kdwradio.com or Dee Dee at mpac@mpartcenter.org. So you can reach out to us, and we can get you on a show or get you on our show, or who cares? I do a show about history. If you have a life, if you're born and alive, you have history. So you can be on my history. Yeah, everybody has a history at all. So see ya next time, and we're ending this. Bye, everybody. And